dive into how to create and build a portal using Form Engine. I figured I would share a couple of examples so that everybody can see what a portal looks like, different ways that a portal can be utilized, and just kind of visualize the big picture of where we're going to be going throughout this demonstration. So I have two examples of different portals that um, Advantage has built, that we've built, and I'm going to share those with you. And then we will dive into the how to actually build it, how to get there. So the first example that I have for you is actually, some of you may not. With this particular use case, the idea is that every piece of equipment has a QR code that is unique to that piece of equipment. And when someone in the field scans that QR code, they will open up this portal. Now, while this is opening up, I will say the QR code piece is going to be customization functionality that I will share next week in part 2. So know that that is something I plan to cover next week. So this is an example of the portal. It does look different. This is designed for mobile. So you have the ability, a portal can be designed for mobile. It can be designed for tablet, desktop, as far as the width of a portal. Or then from here, you just have links to your different forms. And that is what we're going to work on creating today. So today we will cover how to create this portal and then how to apply your links to your different forms on this portal so that end users can access the multitude of forms that they may need to fill out for your organization without actually having to be a user in QuickBase or even know that they are dealing with a database. So that is one use case. Another use case is actually dealing with personnel. So every employee or personnel has a portal. And in this particular use case, again, there is a QR code that's associated with it where someone could scan the QR code and open up this individual's portal. This is a forms. So within Form Engine, we have static forms and we have dynamic forms. Portals are always going to be dynamic forms. With this one in particular, it is pulling in content from QuickBase, but you have the ability to expand and contract and link to other forms. So passkey protection is always an option for forms that only need to be accessed by certain individuals or management, that kind of thing. So before I move into how this actually works, any questions? Okay, all right. So about setting up a portal. First off, our first step is actually going to be creating the header that we're going to put on a portal. So let me open that back up so you guys can see what I'm referring to. So I'm going to start by creating this. And this will allow me to then move straight into creating my portal before I get into my links. So this is what we're going to, and then go from there. All right. So talking about where a portal should live. So you have a couple of different options. If you have forms that belong to several different child tables, portal, but they should feed up to a parent. And in that particular use case, you would want the portal to live at the parent table. If you have a single table where there's maybe tons of fields, all of your forms point to that specific table, then, and they're not pulling content in this particular case, a name from the employee record down to a child table, everything is just in one table, then your portal could live there. So definitely worth thinking about your architecture based off and then where they need to feed into. So in this particular case, I'm going to have forms that are from various child tables. So I want my portal to be at my parent table, which is my employees. So from here, I'm going to go in and I've already created it, but to create that label for our portal, it is just, it's merely a formula-rich text field. You can use it, you're going to use a concatenation formula. This will be called out in the article that I send out later, but that concatenation formula can be made up of whatever fields are beneficial to let the end user know, hey, this has been validated, this is my portal, this belongs to me, so forth. So once you've built your formula-rich text field, then you can go into your Form Engine library and proceed to actually create that. We're going to create our portal from scratch. I have one, but we will create this from scratch. So my portal is tied to my HR Central app, and I need to go ahead and provide my user token. So for those of you who are new to Form Engine, we do supplied connections, and that is how we're able to move past and allow end users to access content without actually being a QuickBase user. So this content is all encrypted. It's not accessible. People can't access it in the URL, but it's what's going to allow you to pass credentials through so that people can populate those forms. So I'm going to select my user token and my uploading a template, and I'm going to call this employee portal demo. Create. So now you're going to start out with a blank slate. I would like for this to be mobile, so I'm going to click on page styles. So you have the ability to go in and customize using this toolbar across the top. I am going to customize the page size. And so I'm going to click here and select mobile, and then click apply. That's automatically going to change. And then I'll just click apply. I do need to set this portal to a table. Again, as I mentioned earlier, this is going to point or exist at my parent table. So I'm going to select employees. Now, I have a couple of things going on here. You can see my header across the top has gone red. There's issues here. One of those issues is I have a required field. So in my parent table, my key field is actually full name. It's not the record ID. So I need to place that on this form. That's not a deal breaker. With Form Engine, you have the ability to provide field behaviors. So I can hide this field once I've placed it on the form. From here, I'm going to place my formula-rich text field or my header. And I'm going to go ahead while I'm in here and do a couple of things. So I'm going to click on my field, my label field, and I'm going to apply a width. I'm going to say, hey, I want my width to be 100%. The reason for doing this is if I did not do this, then it would wrap content of my label into a smaller space. And so by saying, hey, I want the width to be 100%, it's just going to take it all the way across that template. You will see that here in just a moment. I can also go in and do a couple of things using the toolbar across the top. I can say, hey, I want the center aligned because so I want it in bold. And hey, I would like to go in and maybe change the font color so that it stands out as my label. From there, I'm going to save. And I'm going to go ahead and connect this portal up to my employees table in the app so that as we start to digitize, build our forms, our links that are going to exist on this portal, my portal is already set up and I can see how it looks as I add those links to it. So let's publish to QuickBase. Portals are going to be edit buttons. End user's not going to know anything about it. With a portal, you're not editing to QuickBase. You need to create an edit link. So we will automatically suggest the name for the button. This is just going to create a formula URL field, which will be what the button is in QuickBase. But because we're creating Form Engine's creating that formula URL field, that is what you can then use to send out and email notifications, wherever you need to send that link to get it in front of the individual who needs to see the portal and submit the forms. This to live on the employees table. It's going to automatically pull in your key field. As I mentioned earlier, full name is my key field for this table. I do not need to do any pre-fill values that are going to live on the portal, but I am going to change this name. So I'm going to say employee portal. And so click create. And this is just telling you that, hey, as soon as you link this, can't go in and change your target table or anything of that nature. This form is locked in to QuickBase, authenticated into QuickBase. Close. So now, if I come back to my QuickBase app and refresh, and scroll to the bottom, here is the formula URL button that was just created. So when I click on this, as I mentioned, we can go in and hide this. So if I went in and clicked on this field and clicked on behaviors, and I said hide always, done, save, come back here, refresh. Now that field is not showing up as visible to the end user. So now we have our portal ready for us, the end user, to fill out. So we will move on to that next. So last week during office hours, I demonstrated how to manage the background image of to highlight one of the things that I covered last week. For those of you who have templates where you've tried to merge maybe multiple forms into one packet, and now that you know this portal functionality is available and you're learning how to implement it, maybe you want to go in and break out that packet into the various forms that it is made up of. So to do that, I'm gonna backtrack for a minute and cover how to do that again, or just highlight how to do that again. I have 3 forms that makes up this template, or this packet, if you want to call it. I'm going to go in and I'm going to click the drop down button. I will save as. So you would want to make a copy of the overall template. And I'm only going to do this once, just so that everybody gets a feel for how this works. So now you can see I have a copy, and I'll backtrack for a second just so that you can see it in the library. Packet, and here is the first copy that I made. So because I have 3 forms that make up this packet, I would probably copy it 3 times original. So if I go into the copy, and let's say I want to keep this first page, and I'm going to remove the second, right clicking, and then select remove page. Again, now I'm down to my first page and my second page. I'm going to remove my second page, and now I have my form, the form that I want to save this. I've already done this exercise in preparation for this demo, but I did want to share what that would look like again. So you can see I already have my forms broken out, 1, 2, and 3, and I have already went through the process of doing 1. So we'll start with the second form, and this is what we'll walk through the process with. So with, let me go in and delete these.
Hey, Ashley, while you're doing that, just for others on the call, if you didn't see, I posted something in chat. If there's any questions while Ashley's presenting, feel free to put them in chat.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, so here is the second page. There's a couple of things that I'm going to want to do to this form so that when I go to create my permalink or my formula URL button and connect this up to QuickBase in the app, I'm able to pre-fill and make sure that this form connects with the parent record. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my employee full name. So this is my related field in my child table, employee assets. This is my related field that gets pulled in from my employee, which is my parent table. And then I'm also, let's go with employee ID. And you know what? I'll show you a couple of other things because I know we have a lot of people on this call that are new to Form Engine, which is amazing. So these forms aren't lined up. They don't look pretty. I would like for them to be lined up. So I'm just going to highlight both of them, right? That way I'm not sitting there dragging and dropping and trying to get them to look like they are aligned. Now that I have these two fields on the template, this will allow the digitized form to be linked up so that whenever their employee ID is already going to be populated on the template, but then this record, this direct deposit record, will be linked up to the parent. I'll click save. And now I'm going to publish it to QuickBase. So in this particular case, again, you know, if you can have your links on your portal can be for updating an existing record. They can be for adding a new record, but still having that new record linked up to the parent. So kind of think through that. The end user is going to be submitting their direct deposit. So I'm going to create an add button, and we will go ahead and recommend a name for the button. I'm going to change this to, I want this to live at the parent table. So this is important. My portal is at the parent table. I need my button to live at the parent table. And then to make sure that employee name and employee ID are populated, I'm going to pre-fill them. Set activities, the field that is on this form is employee full name, and its value, the source field, its value comes from full name in my parent table. So in the parent table, the field is called full name. It is a table. Click add. And then I'm going to go in and do that one more time for employee ID. So employee ID is my field that is on this template from asset activities, and its source field where the information comes from employee ID. So that one's pretty straightforward. Click my green button. Now I'm going to create my button in QuickBase. So if I go back to QuickBase, and you can see here's the portal that we just created. I'm going to refresh. And here is the form that we just digitized for our direct deposits. So if I click on it, you can see it's pulling in my employee name from my employee record. It's also pulling in my employee ID and then the fields that are coming in from my child table. Let's create a link for it that will live on our portal. So to do that, and you can see this is the first one that I did. this button will open up the asset activities. And then to place, so we've created a formula URL field for that template. If you were to just go in and place that on the portal, you're going to see the whole URL. That's ugly. It doesn't look professional. What I want is for the end user to just see a hyperlink that says asset request form and not see the URL that is connected behind it. So this is what we're going to build next. This is what we'll actually place on the portal so that they have to fill out and not being confused by the URL to that form. So I'm going to click over here. So this is what a formula URL field looks like. This is the field for the first form that I've already created. And this is the formula rich text. Now, before you look at all of this and just, you know, bug eye, if you will, I will want to just send out the recording of this demonstration because I feel like looking at these formulas, this is probably the most challenging piece of this whole use case. And it's not challenging, but I didn't want anyone to try and watch a video while they were implementing this. I will send out the formulas as examples for anyone who wants to implement this to be able to work off of. So just kind of know that. Don't really worry about that. So this is what is already working for our first link. Let's go in and create the link for our direct deposit. So here you can see the formula URL. I am very much a naming convention kind of person. For me, that's just mental sanity. So you can see, for instance, where is it? Right here. Yeah. So you can see this is the first formula URL or the first button that I have for the asset request. And I probably should have called it asset request. That might have made a little bit more sense. This is the naming convention that I went with that aligns with this formula URL. So for me, on the formula rich text, I'll normally give it the same field name as my formula URL field or my button field, and then in parentheses put, you know, FE form, so that I can distinguish, okay, here's the button, and now here is my link that's going to go on my portal. So let's go in and I'm going to open this link because I need to go ahead and I have this field open. I'm going to copy this. And now I'm going to create my formula rich text. So it's the formula rich text field. Paste my field name, FE form. Let's create. And then let's open this. Perfect. So stepping back for a second, I'm going to just take and copy this and paste it into my new rich text field. But what we are going to pull out of our formula URL is going to be everything that you see here. again, this is what comes from the formula URL that we're going to paste into this overall formula in our rich text field. So I'm going to just go ahead and copy this, paste it here, and then I'm going to go into my URL, formula URL, and I'm going to grab, so if you find the redirect URL, you want to start at the H. So inside that quotation, double quotation, I'll call it, and I'm going to go all the way down to this last, Henry, what do we call these? I'm drawing a blank.
Curly brace?
Yes, perfect. I'm going to go down and grab that, but I want to end at that double quotation. I want to capture everything in between those quotations. Copy. Go over here. And now I'm going to highlight everything I'm getting ready to replace and just hit Control V. And I grabbed too much. There we go. So this is part of the original formula, and this is part of the original formula. Everything else in between is coming from the formula URL. This target, this last piece down here, is what allows the end user to see what are you calling that link. So in this particular case, I'm going to say direct deposit form. And then I go in and do a couple of things. I don't want this to show up on every single new report. Click Save. And so now we have both our formula URL and we have our rich text, our link that's going to go on our portal. So let's go back to our portal and place both the asset request and the direct deposit on it. I need to go back to my library, and I'm going to open up my portal, which is right here. And then from here, the beauty of naming conventions, in my filter box, I'm going to type FE form, and that's going to pull up those formula-rich text fields. It's going to, as any search box would, it's filtering out and pulling up what has FE form. So from here, I'm going to get my cursor behind in this current paragraph box and just click enter. And I'll go ahead and do it twice because I'm going to have two different links that I'm going to place here. So my first paragraph link, which is my asset request. So I'm just going to click on it. It'll automatically send it over. And then I'm going to put my cursor in the next paragraph box, click on this second, which is my direct deposit. There's our links. Now, I do need to go in and put 100% width, but I would like for you all to see what it looks like if you don't do that. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. Now, this is our portal. Let me refresh. Here's our links. So if I go into the builder, just click on the field, and I want to set my width again to 100%. Add style. Done. Let's go ahead and do it to the same one, or the next one, I'm sorry. Width, 100%. Add style. You don't really see a change in the builder. Click save. Now I'm going to go back to my portal, refresh. There you go. Now let's click on our links. So here is my asset request. It's pulling in my employee name, employee ID, work email, and then the rest of this form, it would create a new asset request or a child record, so my parent employee record. Click on direct deposit. Same thing. So that is how you